For all its beauty and splendor, the wilderness can be a cruel teacher. A lake can look calm until it isn't. Near a dam, there's no such thing as a safe swim. What seems like stillness is often a trap. Beneath the surface, there are unseen currents, hydraulic drops, suction zones, forces strong enough to drag a full-grown adult under and never let go. Dams are machines, not playgrounds. Their spillways, intakes, and outflows are engineered to move millions of gallons in seconds. To them, you're nothing, just a soft shape in the wrong place. Let's venture back to the savage wilderness where survival is earned, not given. This is outdoor disasters. For Emily Schwalen, her Lake Berryessa swim would be a nightmare. Emily Schwalen was born with the fog in her lungs and salt on her skin. November 28, 1955. Alameda County, California. But that was just geography. She would not stay still. Her father was a man of engineering. He took the family where the work led, South America, Africa, the Midwest, and Emily went with him. São Paulo, Ghana, Middletown. Different stars overhead, different smells in the soil. She learned how to move early, how to pack what mattered, how to leave things behind. Ghana taught her red dirt and heavy air. Ohio taught her how long winter could be. Brazil gave her noise, samba in the streets, and a kind of language that didn't need to be spoken to be understood. Each place left a piece of itself behind, and she carried it all without complaint. By the time she was grown, she had more stamps in her memory than most had on their passports. But she didn't boast. She didn't need to. Some people talk about what they've seen, others simply carry it. She returned to California in her 20s, quiet and sure. She worked as a youth employment training instructor at Harbor High School in Santa Cruz. She believed in small things done well. A hand on a shoulder, a patient ear, a paper graded with care, and when that wasn't enough, she went back to school. Graduate work, science, agronomy, the unseen fight beneath our feet, soil, roots, water. She liked that it didn't lie. The dirt was what it was, a thing to be tested, measured, understood. By 1997, she was at UC Davis, deep in the weeds of research. Her world was petri dishes, control groups, data sets. She was meticulous, always thoughtful. The kind of woman who could sit in a lab for hours without speaking and not be lonely. But something lived under the quiet. You probably couldn't see it if you met her once. But if you watched long enough, you might notice. She wasn't married. She had no children. She had her work, her books, the soil. Some would call that loneliness. Others would call it freedom. But even a quiet life can bend under the weight. And no one, not her peers, not her professors, not the family who knew her best, ever guessed how far down that weight had pressed. And one day, on a lake in Northern California, everything would come to a head. On that day, Emily would confront something so strange, so terrifying, it's hard to explain. But once she stepped into the water, there would be no turning back. There are some things we can never measure, not in liters or grams, not in IQ or GPA or the letters that come after your name. Grief, weariness, the kind of silence that settles into a person's bones and makes a home there. Emily was brilliant. That much everyone agreed on. She didn't speak to impress. She didn't raise her hand in lectures just to be heard. But when she did speak, people listened. Her thoughts came slow, but solid, like fence posts hammered into the earth. She lived in Davis, not far from the university. A small apartment, sparse, books and soil samples, academic journals, quiet evenings. Her neighbors hardly noticed her. She didn't bring men home, didn't play music loud. She lived like the roots she studied, buried deep and holding firm. But it's hard to know someone by what they don't say. No one ever reported seeing her cry. No one recalled her asking for help. But people would later say, she seemed tired, or she was always so focused. That kind of focus can cut both ways. Some said she had grown more withdrawn in her final months. Not absent, just distant. Less inclined to linger after seminars, less warmth in the eyes. No apparent decline, just a cooling. like something inside her had pulled back from the surface. Depression, maybe, or just the long ache of being misunderstood. The pressure of graduate school is a slow burn kind of cruelty. Deadlines that don't move, experiments that don't care about your sleep. A life spent explaining things to people who stopped listening 2 sentences ago. If there were signs, they were subtle. Not the kind that shakes you, but the kind you dismiss until the whole picture collapses. And by then, it's too late. But maybe it wasn't that. Maybe she didn't go to the lake with any plan but to swim, to escape the buzzing of fluorescence, the stale air of research labs, to feel something colder than her thoughts. March in California can be a turning point. The rains come, the reservoirs fill, the grass comes back, and so do the wildflowers. But the beauty hides things too. Trails crumble, rivers swell, the stillness of a lake can lie. And somewhere in those early days of spring, something took shape in Emily. An idea, a need, a quiet motion toward something final, or maybe toward peace, or maybe just toward the water. Whatever the reason, she got in her car that Sunday in 1997. No bags, no swimsuit, no friend waiting at the other end. Just herself and the road that curved toward Lake Berryessa. Lake Berryessa is a vast man-made reservoir tucked into the folds of Napa County, built in the late 1950s when progress meant taming rivers, submerging towns, and laying concrete like commandments. The Monticello Dam held it back, held it in, and when the water got too high, they built it an escape, a spillway. But not just any spillway. They carved a hole in the lake, round, clean, symmetrical, 72 feet across at the lip, a perfect circle that looked like something God made with special care. The engineers called it a morning glory spillway. Everyone else called it the glory hole. It was a throat in the water, a mouth that drank when the rains came too hard, when the lake reached its breaking point. The hole dropped 200 feet straight down, narrowing as it fell until the water was spit out into Pewter Creek far below the dam. People came to see it. When the lake spilled, crowds gathered on the hillsides like pilgrims. They brought cameras, they leaned over fences, they gasped. The sound of it was strange, not a roar, but a rumble, like something old stirring beneath the surface, a sound that reached the ribs, not the ears. There were buoys all around it, warning signs, chains and cables. But still, people crept close. They wanted to see, to know, to touch the edge of something that didn't belong in the world. In the spring of 1997, the rains had come hard and long, storm after storm, the kind that turned roads into rivers and hills into landslides. Lake Berryessa rose inch by inch. By early March, the surface had crested 440 feet, the mark where the glory hole begins to spill. Water spun into the mouth again, a lazy whirl at first, then faster, louder. The dam breathed deep and drank. That Sunday, March 9th, 1997, the hole was fully alive. Locals knew. Some came just to watch it work. And into that deep, cold, spinning mouth came Emily, not in a boat, not by accident. She came walking, alone. For reasons still unknown to this day, she stepped towards something that belonged in a nightmare, a vast, otherworldly spillway that dropped into darkness, where death wasn't just likely, it was certain. And it would not be a gentle death, it would be terrifying. Emily Schwalen parked her car on the gravel shoulder above the dam, afternoon slipping into evening. The sun soft and slow, casting long shadows over the hills. There were families nearby, couples, strangers with folding chairs and coolers. They'd come to see the water pour into the hole. A spectacle, a marvel of engineering. They saw her too, a woman alone in street clothes. No towel, no pack, no picnic. She walked down the slope without speaking, her movements calm, like someone who had done this before. But no one knew what this was. She reached the shoreline, stood still for a long time, then stepped into the water. No hesitation, no stripping down. She waded in fully clothed, pants, shirt, shoes. The water was cold, shockingly cold, but she didn't flinch. People began to notice. A man yelled, "Hey!" A mother pulled her child close. Something wasn't right. She began to swim. Not aimless strokes, not struggling. She swam toward the middle of the lake, toward the spillway, her arms moving slowly, steadily. It took a few minutes for people to realize where she was heading, and by then, she was almost there. The current picked up as she neared the glory hole. The water funneled with quiet force, not a whirlpool, not at the surface, but underneath the lake, tugged at the edges. Emily kept going. One woman said she was crying, another said she looked calm. One man swore she paused, turned her head and looked straight at the shore before reaching the rim. She grabbed the edge of the spillway, the curved concrete lip. Just a few feet of slick gray surface between water and drop, and she held on. 20 minutes, they said, clinging to the mouth of the drain, arms locked, fingers white. They yelled to her, tried to call her back, but she didn't answer. Didn't even turn her head. There were no lifeguards, no rescue boats, no one trained for this. The water spun and spun, growing stronger with each passing minute. Then she was gone. Some say she slipped. Some say she let go. Either way, she disappeared into the hole. A woman in water, swallowed whole. 200 feet below, where the spillway empties into Puda Creek, her body was found that night. The current had carried her clean through the dam's mouth, down the tunnel, and out the other side. The sheriff's report called it an apparent suicide. But that wasn't the whole story. The headlines came fast and they didn't agree with each other. The Napa Valley Register was first. Monday morning, March 10th, the ink still wet. Woman jumps to her death in glory hole. It was blunt, cold, the kind of language that writes a person out in 10 words or less. They said the lake wasn't spilling that day, that she had climbed the spillway lip herself, that she cried as she stood at the edge. The sheriff's deputies, the coroner, the bystanders, they all leaned toward suicide. A deliberate final act. But then came the Reading Record searchlight. Same week, different version. They said the lake was spilling, that Emily had swum too close and been caught in the current, that she held on for 20 minutes, fighting, not surrendering, that she struggled. And then came the San Francisco Chronicle. Bigger paper, wider reach. They didn't say suicide at all. Just that she swam toward the spillway, that she clung to the rim, that she let go or lost her grip and vanished into the hole. In that telling, it was a strange and sorrowful accident, the kind of thing that becomes urban legend, the kind of thing that spreads. Her name was misspelled, Schwalik instead of Schwalen. The story was already slipping from her, and no one corrected it. There were no press releases from UC Davis. No faculty statements. Her professors stayed silent. Her department didn't organize a memorial. She was gone, and the world moved on. The media stopped asking questions. No autopsy report was published. No toxicology findings released. The coroner didn't revise his conclusion. Some people said she had planned it, that the cold water didn't faze her because she had already made peace with it. Others said she panicked, that she got too close, that she'd gone out there just to feel something, anything, and the lake did the rest. Some said she was unwell. Some said she was brave. Some said she didn't want to die at all, but no one really knew. The only people who knew her intentions were Emily and God, and in that space between knowing and not knowing, the story twisted, turned, got passed around. Years went by. The lake rose again in 2006 and 2017. And 2019. And each time, when the glory hole spilled over and the videos went viral, someone remembered her. Someone typed her name in a forum. Someone whispered about the woman who went in. Her name was Emily Terese Schwalen, but to most she became just the woman, the one who swam to the glory hole, the one who held on, the one who let go. She has no statue at the lake, no plaque on the shore, no roadside cross with sun-bleached flowers, only memory, only the story, told and retold by strangers who never knew her. But the lake remembers. When the water gets high and the spillway wakes, and the air hums with that low, steady draw, It's hard not to think of her, not to see her in your mind, out there in the dark water, alone. The dam still stands. The glory hole still drinks. It's roped off tighter now, more signs, more warnings. But the mouth is still open, wide as ever, waiting. No one else has gone in. Not in 28 years. Not yet. And maybe that's her legacy. Maybe her death drew a line. A red ring in the lake, invisible but known. A place where people stop and stare but do not follow. She was a scientist, a daughter, a student of the soil. She studied life, growth, the silent miracle of a seed becoming a stalk. And yet she died in water, cold, hard, unyielding water, but not forgotten. In forums, people still speak her name, in whispers, in awe, in sorrow. Some say she was brave, some say she was lost. Some say it was the lake that called to her. But maybe, just maybe, it wasn't about dying at all. Maybe it was about escaping something we'll never see, or seeking something we'll never understand. The glory hole is still there, round and hollow and impossible. And somewhere in its silent pull, a woman lingers. Not a ghost, not a warning. Just a person who slipped beyond what words can hold. And in that quiet space where stories end and the water keeps moving, we remember her because some tragedies don't need answers, only reverence. One wrong stroke, 1 foot too far, and you're caught in something you can't fight, can't see, can't survive. People underestimate the quiet ones, the still lakes, the cold reservoirs. They think, I'll just swim out a little. But the edge is closer than you think, and past that edge, the water doesn't forgive. The water doesn't shout its danger. It whispers, it lulls, it mirrors the sky and tells you everything is fine. But beneath the surface, it waits, still and patient and merciless. You tell yourself you're a strong swimmer, that you've felt currents before, that your body knows how to float, how to fight, how to survive. But the water near a dam is not the ocean, and it is not the pool. It does not care what you've trained for. It was built for power, not people. These are not swimming holes. They are engines. They are pressure and gravity disguised as beauty. The surface lies, the calm lies, even the silence lies. And when you step into that kind of water with confidence in your lungs and pride in your chest, you are writing your own name in the dark. You are daring something that does not forgive. Because when the current takes you, it doesn't take you loudly. There's no storm, no drama, just a slip, a pull, and then nothing. No last words, no goodbyes, just the cold and the quiet and the weight. And long after your voice has faded, the water will still look peaceful, as if nothing ever happened. And when you try to rise and the surface doesn't come, when your lungs are burning and your body turns heavy, that's when it hits you. You're experiencing an outdoor disaster. If you've made it this far, please consider clicking those subscribe and like buttons. Want more outdoor disasters content? Check out these videos I believe you'll enjoy. Thank you for watching.